You are watching Ask the Instructor. Absorb the knowledge. Become the expert.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Ask the Instructor. My name is John Carissimo, and the show is brought to you by the Tampa School of Real Estate every Wednesday. We're here live to help you understand the technical side of the real estate industry to grow your real estate business. So make sure you're subscribed. Hit that little bell icon if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, or go to tampaschoolofrealestate.com and put in your email address, or just tsre.us. That's tsre.us. Get it? TSRE. Forget the O. Forget the O. We don't want to be sore. We're T-Surrey or whatever. Anyways, let's get right to it. We're talking today about vacation rentals. Vacation rentals, which are exploding in popularity, have been exploding in popularity, but are continuing to increase in Florida, and especially as we see the market doing what it is, especially where we don't have multiple offers going in way above asking price, that creates, again, more opportunity for investors. But even during, when you see investors paying premium prices for real estate, you might wonder why. And the cap rates on vacation rentals can be pretty unbelievable. Now, one of the big differences with the vacation rental, especially the shorter term vacation rentals, is it's much more like a business as opposed to a more passive investment. And we're going to be covering a bunch of these different differences, as well as some of the similarities between, say, for example, managing multiple long-term rental properties versus managing multiple short-term investment properties. And the great thing about you owning the real estate is you could decide which one it is that you want to do. You could decide how it is that you want to use that property, how you want to market it, what's going to be the most profitable usage to you. So we are live, so if you do have any questions, drop something in the comments here. If you do have a question you want to ask more confidentially, like about obtaining your real estate license, or we have a renewal deadline coming up if you need to complete renewal requirements, or if you're thinking about taking the next step to open your own brokerage, give us a call, 813-333-2676. Again, 813-333-2676, or you can send us a text to that number, and one of our advisors will be able to contact you and get in touch with you and help you out confidentially, and really kind of go over stuff in a lot more detail. But any general questions you have or anything you don't mind sharing with the public, drop that in the chat. We are here to learn today about cap rates on vacation rentals. So welcome to everyone tuning in online, Facebook, YouTube, or Tampa School of Real Estate land. But let's get right down to it, and let's talk about what cap rates are first and foremost. What is a cap rate? And if you've got no idea what a cap rate is, that's okay. At one point, I had no idea what a cap rate was, and it actually took me a while to really kind of understand what it means, to simplify it down to really this. But I find, and most of our students at Tampa School Real Estate find, when you start off with things in a simpler fashion, it's a lot easier to add on some additional understanding as opposed to trying to get the most complicated version of something first and foremost and then sifting back through it. So getting back anyways to cap rates. What is a cap rate, if I could make it as simple as possible? And it's essentially return on your investment. Now, I know people out there that know a better definition of cap rate are going to say, no, John, it's not technically. Hang on. Let's just hang on here. Return on investment. Now, your actual return on an investment on a property is going to be much more related to your cash flow as opposed to the net operating income. And that's one of the big differences for the cap rate. So there you go, for everyone that wants to get super technical. That's why this isn't necessarily just return on investment. But what does that mean when I say that? That there's all these other factors that could be involved. So cap rates are designed to be a more standardized type of return on investment. So it won't necessarily be your exact return on investment for money in your pocket after all expenses, because typically when you're calculating a cap rate, you exclude personal and business expenses. It's more just expenses related to the operation of the property. So depending on if you're using financing and other factors like that, that can affect your ultimate bottom line cash flow and return on investment. But this is a great starting point, because this is information that especially in a real estate brokerage, a real estate agent type of position, if you're trying to help others. I know some of you might be tuning in here today to get this information for yourself, and let me know in the chat. Are you here to get this information because you want to do some vacation rental type of stuff, or is it because you want to be able to better discuss this and more appropriately speak to this with potential clients? But getting back to what cap rate is here, the cap rate is, again, a standardized return on investment that's based on your operating expenses. And it's also based on cash. So the reason why this is, or how it's standardized, I should say, is because we assume we're only talking about the expenses directly related to the operation of the property, and we're assuming that you're not using financing, or if you are, that is a business expense, not necessarily an operating expense. Maybe that makes a little bit more sense now. See, it's easy to layer stuff on. We got all kinds of tricks like that if you're trying to learn things the easier way here at Tampa School of Real Estate. So cap rates. What do they tell you? They don't give you the exact return on investment, but they are giving you a baseline number that you could use to compare one property to another. And then once you could more pinpoint which one has more profitability built in already, then you could factor in any additional business expenses, financing expenses, things like that. Because if you start off doing that with a property that has a small cap rate, a low cap rate that doesn't already have much profitability, much return on investment as is, and then you try to add additional business expenses, that's not the investment for you. That's probably not the investment for the cash investor. But maybe if they're doing cash and they didn't have as much other business expenses, maybe it's not as bad as an investment for them. So that's why, again, this is a great place to start out with, because, again, it allows you to more evenly compare different properties. And when we're talking about cap rates, if you already took your pre-licensing course, you know all about calculating a cap rate. It's in Unit 16, the appraisal section. You actually learn how to calculate a cap rate for a particular property from start to finish, going from rent all the way down to the percentage that is the cap rate based on what somebody might pay for a property. And essentially, it's the exact same process for a vacation rental, but the difference is the nature of a vacation rental. So let's talk about the differences between short-term rentals and long-term rentals. And if anyone has any experience, it's crazy finding how many people have done short-term rental types of things. Because look, you don't need a real estate license to rent out your bedroom. As long as it's your property that you have possession of. Now, it's not necessarily your property. That's where you could be practicing real estate without a license and go to jail for 5 years. So if you want to avoid that, come get your real estate license. Again, that phone number is 813-333-2676. And even though we're the Tampa School of Real Estate, that's why we sometimes call ourselves TSRE, because we're worldwide. We've had students from over 37 countries, and of course the rest of Florida, not just Tampa. So even though we are the Tampa School of Real Estate, we are broadcasting worldwide. We have students from over 37 countries, so come on down. Let us help make your real estate dreams a reality. Okay, cheesy sales pitch over. Let's get back to short-term versus long-term. So when people talk about passive income through real estate, this is what they're talking about. This is typically your most passive long-term rentals, because essentially you're talking about leases that are usually 12 months. So you're typically doing like annual leases with a long-term rental. And, you know, talking about the short-term rentals, if we're really summing up the two key main differences, the short-term, we'll say less passive. More active, if you want to call it that. And what does that mean? So one of two things. Either you're going to be more involved or your expenses are going to be more involved. Does that make sense? You're either going to have to put in more sweat equity, more work it is of your own to manage the short term. And the key reason why is that there is a much higher turnover because, I mean, you might be talking about anywhere from a couple nights that somebody's staying to maybe a couple months. And you know, this actual portion right here, this begs the question of is what you're trying to do even legal? Because there's lots of local ordinances that have been passed that require minimum occupancies of, you know, in Hillsborough County, I believe the current right now is 7 days is the minimum for short-term rentals in Hillsborough County. I've got a property in Clearwater that requires a minimum of 30-day rentals. There's some places, there's properties that are in HOAs, they'll sometimes have minimums of 12-month rentals. So this is one of the things, whether it's your own investment or you're helping to advise others, if, you know, somebody's considering this here and asking questions, and remember, at the end of the day, you're not necessarily certified by the state or anything like that in short-term versus long-term rentals. So any of this information it is that you're bringing to the table is more of professional opinion. And they should seek advice from more qualified professionals where applicable. Now, what does that mean? That sounds like a very well-put legal disclaimer. And it just means that you should seek out an attorney for something that gets more deeper into legal matters, into contracts and things like that that go beyond the scope of what we do as real estate professionals. Title companies when it talks about conditions of ownership, lenders when it talks about financing. That's something to consider as well, the type of financing it is that you're using to acquire this property. Now, even though cap rates, so we're going to do the calculation on this in a minute here, but if you already know the calculation on long-term rentals, again, the big difference is you're just going to have higher operating expenses. Because even if you are investing that sweat equity as opposed to money, because there's property management companies out there even for vacation rentals that manage the whole vacation rental for you basically end to end, and that's going to be more passive. But the big part of this is there's a higher turnover. Because these are typically, they're short or vacation rentals, not long-term annual leases. Now the thing on the long-term side of things, and this can go either way, and really, I don't know if this is going to be a difference. So I don't even know if we want to put this on the board because you might have a good tenant or a bad tenant, but that honestly comes on either side. You know, the good side of it is on the short term is, and you know, there's a lot of screening that you should do, and that's either side of this here. That's where screening is going to be important for your tenants, making sure that you're getting a quality tenant that's not going to trash the place. And again, having a real estate license, you'll know all about the Fair Housing Act and what it is that you can and cannot do. And it's not always about knowing what you cannot do, because a lot of times that's obvious. It's also knowing what you can do that isn't always so obvious. And knowing the law allows you to understand both sides of that, is what you can do and then also what you cannot do. And that's why we have a lot of people that come to us, again, from 37 countries around the world, if I'm allowed to put my Tampa School hat back on. But that's why a lot of people come to us that they don't even plan on being a realtor, but they want to acquire knowledge going through the course. They want to get the real estate license so they have access to the opportunities, because any of the stuff we talk about, you could typically refer these real estate activities to another real estate agent that actually does the work and just sit back and collect a 20-25% referral fee. You negotiate the amount, it's always negotiable, but typically like 25% is a pretty typical ask for a referral fee. So getting back to the short-term versus long-term, just again to throw that out there, that you could cash in on this information without even having to do the work. And that's what people look for when they're talking about passive money. money it is that you could make without having to work, because the reality is we only have so many hours in the day. There's only so much time that we all have, 24 hours, and we cannot get more of it. Our time is running out every single day. I mean, there's little like life extending biohacks. You can go freeze your body or go like inject yourself with stuff and take all kinds of crazy nutrients. But at the end of the day, we're all going to die. That's the sad truth. And so we've got to make the most of the time it is that we do have. And if money is all a part of that picture, which I don't care if you don't care about money, you need money. This is a financial planet. That is something it is that you need to survive. I mean, yeah, we're not here to debate that. Unless you want to go like live off the grid in a cave and like grow your own like beets or something like that, and go like strangle bears with your bare hands, and well, I don't know. For the rest of us, we need money. We need money. And so many of us are sold the idea of going to school, getting a good job, and put in your 9 to 5, get paid your hourly wage, get your little bumps up every single year, and save for retirement. But then they kind of took away the retirement stuff, and now inflation is really changing the game. Look, if you're at whatever age it is that you are, and if you're younger, you're maybe not as worried about this. But when things like inflation like this happen, what that does, and there will be inflation. So you see this massive inflation happening right now in the short term. That's just a preview of what is guaranteed to happen over the long term. Look back 30, 40, 50 years at what prices were then compared to what they are now. And now imagine your life 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now. And so that's where you've got to get into leverage. Leveraging the money it is that you've been able to scrape together, selling your time, selling this little amount of time it is that we have, literally selling your soul in exchange for the paycheck, as well as doing whatever else it is that you do as part of your job, which can be rewarding. But if that's all you're able to do, if the best part of your life is going to work, you may really love your job, but there's a lot of life out there as well to be lived. But the thing for a lot of people is 80% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. So when you're living paycheck to paycheck, how do you take a nice vacation? How do you afford to take time off from work? You know, maybe your job gives you time off, and now what do? You go like sit on like on a lone Zoom call with a virtual background because you don't have funds to be able to get out there? But here's the thing, there's people, entrepreneurs, people that have real estate licenses, as well as all kinds of other people that are able to make money regardless of what happens in the economy. And those are people that like to travel. And if you live in Florida, you see these people from all over the world that come to Florida to experience Florida. And you could cash in on this to buy back your time. It's going to cost you up front to set this up, to create this investment. But especially if you have this managed for you, if you have a property management company and a good property management company that takes care of this all for you, now that does increase your cost. So if you're just starting out and you have some time to invest, maybe you manage it yourself, but understand when you're ready to grow and scale beyond just 1 or 2, 3 properties here, you're probably going to need to invest in others managing the property, whether that's you invest into a third-party company or you just start hiring people yourself to manage it because you're really getting that big into it. And there's people out there that do this. I mean, it blows my mind seeing people, and there's even like somebody who's actually a student of ours, relatively famous, actually has her own staging company for specifically vacation rentals, and she's actually really good at it. So I was really impressed by that. I'm like, man, it really made me think about how much this vacation rental market has grown. And a lot of people see it as something that, okay, it's maybe potentially saturated. I mean, we have hotels everywhere. How can you possibly make money renting a house? Well, it's because everybody wants to come here. And not just talking about moving here for the long term, but also for the short term. And the thing is, with your real estate license, you don't have to choose. Maybe for your own investment purposes, you choose what type of investments it is that you want to do. Whether it is you want the more active type of short-term vacation rental or you want to do something more long-term. But you could assist others, and the information is really similar. Again, the biggest difference you're going to have when calculating the cap rates, let's get into that, actually calculating the cap rates. Again, this standardized cash on cash return on investment, that's what our cap rate is here. So just backing up a little bit. So the cap rate, it's basically like a first glimpse return on investment, standardized as if you're going to pay cash. So that way everybody could look at this and then factor in their financing. That way you could have these standardized numbers that as a listing agent, you could advertise this. So if you're a listing agent, you've got a property that's going to be potentially a great investment for vacation rental owners. You want to be able to market that property in that way and be able to speak the language, because if you can't, they'll also take advantage of you from a negotiation position. You know, that's another thing that you'll notice with shifts in the market is there's going to be a greater reliance on you as the real estate professional to be able to negotiate on behalf of your clients. That's a skill that is going to be very quickly coming back in style, mark my words. So based on operating expenses, again, this is going to be really our biggest difference when we're calculating the cap rates. Because as I have been saying here, this is going to be more active, more costly, more expensive because there's more turnover. But the other big difference is you're also going to have a higher potential gross monthly income. So let's say we have a single family home here. And the single family home, we're going to run the numbers as if we're going to rent it out monthly. Let's say monthly. And actually, we'll do three numbers. We'll do three different sets. We'll do nightly. Now, keep in mind that local jurisdictions may limit this to where you cannot do less than a certain amount of time. So wherever this property is, make sure you look into that. And you know, let's say you're the real estate professional. Should you be quoting whether or not something is legally compliant? No. You want to know where to find that information, and you want to know how to be able to share that information. Hey, this is what I found. You could do more research here. I would recommend you double check this with a real estate attorney to make sure this is going to be a good investment for this here. Or if you're really going on board with this, find a real estate attorney or title company that could do this type of check for you and give these types of, and I say assurances, but they could always change rules and laws, and that's something that affects people. But that's also where you want to plan for the long term. Maybe you have something that's a great short-term rental, but then laws change in that local area where you can't rent less than X amount of time. Can you pivot? Are you able to pivot into a long-term rental? And if you're doing the calculations on this based on cap rates, you could know in advance whether or not you're going to be able to pivot and how much it would cost you. And then we'll do annual. So same property. We're just running the numbers on which one of these are we going to go down. Which one is going to provide our best return on investment. And let's say annually we could rent out this home for, let's say, $2,000 a month. And let's say this same property, if we're renting it monthly, let's say we could maybe get $3,500 a month. And how do you find this information? You look at the comps. You look at what else is on the market. And there's also all kinds of automated valuation methods and tools. There's even a tool when we talk about daily and nightly rentals here, something called AirDNA, that when one of the boards I'm part of, Stellar MLS, which makes up most of the middle of Florida, you get provided a service called Remind that actually gives you the AirDNA for every single address that you put in there. So that's a really cool tool. So let's say that this property could potentially rent out for, let's say, $400 a night. Maybe more, maybe less. But one thing is going to be true across the board is the higher it is you make these rents, the more likely you're going to have some vacancy and collection losses. And so what you might be looking at for vacancy and what is vacancy and collection losses, first off? So we could first calculate what's known as potential gross income. So potential gross income is going to be established, and this actually is a potential gross income. This is really our rents right there. There. So these are our rents. We'll put our potential gross income down here. And our potential gross income is based on how much we could potentially generate. Let's get our calculator up here. If math is not your strong suit, remember you could use a calculator on your real estate exam. a basic 4-function calculator that looks like this. So if we could rent out $2,000 a month times 12 months, that's $24,000. And hey, that's not too bad. Let's get rid of some of these zeros. That's a lot of stuff going on here. We'll put 24K. K for 1,000. 24,000 potential gross income on the annual rental. But what if we do this monthly? Well, monthly, we're talking about, what would we say, $3,500 a month. Not 35,000, 3,500. Don't get too excitable with your calculator where you start typing too quickly like me, because your calculator doesn't like that, obviously. But wow, look at that, $42,000. And there I go, put in all those zeros again. Keep it nice and clean there, 42K. And then let's say daily, so $400 a night times 365 days, and I already know what you're saying, $146,000. So obviously the potential gross income is going to look most attractive with our shortest term rental, but the reality is we're not going to rent it every single night. We're not going to rent it every single month. And even if we have an annual tenant every now and then, there's going to be some times where maybe we have to evict them and they don't pay for some time, or where they move out and we have some time in between moving in our next tenant to turn over the property or anything like that. So the reality is any one of these, you're going to have vacancy and collection losses, but you're also going to have higher vacancy and collection losses typically on a short-term rental. Just because you're not going to rent, it's not realistic in most cases, especially if you're charging a premium price. Now, all of these here, we're talking in generalizations, we're talking in standardization, so you want to use the same exact math on whatever property is that you're looking at. But don't just make up rents like this here. Get actual comps in the market. What is a property like this rent for on an annual basis? What about if it's monthly? Look at the monthly rentals, the 30-day rentals. And what are those renting for? And then nightly, what is it renting for? And again, there's other tools out there that are available to help you estimate that information. But understand that's just the potential gross income. Now, the next portion of this is your vacancy and collection losses. Vacancy and collection losses. And this is going to be on your exam given to you as a percentage when you need to do the calculation. And in the world, we calculate that number based on the time it's not rented, when it's either vacant or we're not collecting money. But we usually talk about it as a percentage as well. And so let's say we've got 10% vacancy and collection losses on the long-term rental. And let's say we've got 20% vacancy collection losses on the monthly rental. And let's say we've got 40% vacancy and collection losses on the nightly rental, daily rental. And now you might be looking at this and you'd say, well, is that how it's going to be? I don't know. We're making up numbers here. What you want to do is actually look at properties in the specific market it is you're looking at. And when we're talking about vacation rentals, the difference of the town it's in makes a major difference, because you got to remember, people coming from out of town, they might not always know, and it also matters where you're marketing the property. So there's a lot of things you could do from a management standpoint to minimize this vacancy and collection loss number, to make sure your property is rented to a number that makes sense. Because if you raise these rents, let's say, I wouldn't mind a slightly higher vacancy and collection loss here, well then you could in theory raise that rent. And with higher rents, you typically are going to take longer to turn over that property. Maybe not, especially if the market's appreciating. But that's why it's so important to be able to run these numbers, because then you could kind of tell what is going to be the best decisions to make for this property that's going to help produce more income. And increasing that efficiency for one property is nice, but imagine if you had 100 of these properties and that little extra 1% in efficiency now spread across 100 properties is a lot of extra money. And that's why doing this on a larger scale, especially if you're able to automate and make things more efficient, this could be a really powerful tool. And again, there's a lot of people already cashing in on this. So let's calculate what these vacancy and collection losses would be. So at 10% here, we're talking about $2,400 it is we'd be losing. Not too bad. Basically, a little bit more than a month's worth of rent, so maybe 5 weeks or so, 5, 6 weeks. We've got the property vacant in between tenants there, maybe. But now over here on the monthly rental, 20%, so maybe about double, so that's $8,400. Right? Let's double check our math here, since I'm just doing that in my head, and my head is not a calculator. So 42,000 times 20%, $8,400. And remember, so these are losses, money that we never even bring in. Now, how about this one over here? 146,000 times 40%, 58,400. And you might say, wow, that's a lot of loss. But is it really? Let's do the math here. Let's take the 146,000 and subtract out 58,400. And that gives us $87,600. And this is what we call effective gross income, how much we effectively are bringing in. How much we expect if these are all kind of imaginary numbers, or how much is actually being brought in if we're basing this off of real numbers here. So let's see what that is for the monthly rental here. Let's see, maybe we could put these lines in here, separate that out a little bit. So we had $42,000 as our projected potential gross income for the year. And after we take out the $8,400 of the 20% for vacancy and collection losses, that leaves us with $33,600. And you could see, wow, that's a big difference in the income. And yeah, you could typically be rewarded quite well if you're willing to do work or go into new territories that are not already being dominated. I mean, you think about long-term rentals especially. I mean, they've been around basically forever. I mean, basically since people have been probably living in caves. I'm sure people were going into a cave, and someone was like, no, this is my cave. You want to live in this cave, you got to pay me in beaver pelts or whatever it is they would trade in, or whatever back then. So long-term type of, but then again, that could also be short-term rentals. But short-term rentals like we know it today, going to the beaches, going to the theme parks, going to experience the nature and the extraordinariness that is Florida, with the rise of platforms like Airbnb and Vrbo and whatnot over the last few years, that's something that's really expanded this. The global pandemic, that was something that was like, oh, hotels with other people, gross. I want to be more in like a home. And you know what? Now you could go vacation like a baller instead of just being crammed in some stuffy room with recirculated air. You get yourself a nice little like villa house. And that's why, and these aren't real numbers here, these are made up numbers, so you want to do this math, but if you're in a place where you can get these, and that's why I would say check something like AirDNA. Because AirDNA, not Airbnb, it's called AirDNA. And again, if you're already a realtor with a member of Stellar, inside of Remine, it's one of your tools inside of Stellar's little toolbox thing, Remine, and if you look at the property, you scroll down, you'll find those AirDNA estimates for properties. And that's based on actual data that it comes up with, that based on actual bookings going on through these different platforms. So that's very valuable insight when you're considering vacation rentals that could give you really accurate numbers like this here, even if the property isn't being rented. So if you could position yourself basically more as a hotel as opposed to just some place that people can live, there's a lot more potential money to be made here. And that's, again, even after assuming a lot of the times this property is going to be vacant. And now you can see these numbers here, why people are, oh yeah, let me try to do some short-term vacation rental stuff. But let's talk about the last option here, the annual rental, because these are still great because these are going to be the least amount of work. They're the least amount of work, they're the least amount of management, and they're good steady income. Because here's the thing, there might be times when you might have to pivot to this here. There might be areas where you are forbidden from doing short-term rentals on this scale or any scale. So that might be where you have to now, okay, well, let's just go ahead and change this into a long-term rental. And can you still make money? Absolutely. Is it as much and as exciting of money? No. But again, you multiply this out across hundreds or thousands of property, and this is how the portfolios of billionaires look. Every billionaire on this planet, look how much real estate is in their portfolio. Look at the companies, look at the corporations, look at the amount of property that's owned by people with power, by people with wealth. And the more you study real estate, the more you understand why. But yeah, anyway, so effective gross income on this one. So 24,000 minus 2,400 is going to give us 21,600. So still a pretty healthy return there. An extra $21,600. Now again, that's assuming this is cash, and this is also before expenses, but this is what's going to potentially affect this number here more than this one over here. So we're not done yet. So we just talked about the effective gross income, and yeah, this effective gross income looks great here, but that's not what cap rate is based off of. Cap rate is based off of your net operating income, and in order to get down to our net operating income, we have to take out our operating expenses. So what are our operating expenses? Well, in a long-term rental, they're going to be the lowest. Now, if you're using a property management company, factor about like 10 to 15% typically of the rent for property management services. So that could be an operating expense we could figure there of, let's say if we had $24,000 in rent, 10% of that would be $2,400. So maybe $2,400 for property management expenses, maybe the property taxes, let's say another, another $4,000. So we're about $7,000, let's call it. And then on top of that, you'll also have insurance cost, let's say $10,000. Again, another made-up number. And you don't want to make investment decisions solely off of made-up numbers, so go get real numbers here. But if you do the math with the made-up numbers, you could definitely do it with the real numbers. The real numbers just get a little bit weirder looking, might give you a bunch of decimals and stuff like that. Anyways, this is all to find our net operating income, our NOI, which in this case is $11,600. And now, if we were paying cash, that would be the money we're actually walking away with before our business expenses. So you'd still have to pay your any sort of income taxes potentially on this income, essentially. But then there's also depreciation deductions and things like that. So talk to your accountant, because that's also one of the leading factors why the wealthy own so much real estate, is because of the tax deductions available for owning real estate. Legal tax deductions that were created by the IRS. I know the IRS have been in the news a lot recently with their recent expansion plans. But anyways, let's get back to cap rates. So operating expenses on a monthly rental. Now, a monthly rental, think of it on, you're renting this 12 times a year potentially. Maybe less if you have somebody staying a couple of months. But that's a lot more times you have to market the property and turn over the property and make the property in good shape. And so let's say it cost you, now again, we're assuming here we've already got property management, property taxes, insurance. So we're really kind of just factoring in some extra turnover costs, maybe cleaning it. So let's say an extra $5,000. So let's say we've got $15,000 in operating expenses on this monthly rental here. So we take the $33,600 that we had for our effective gross income, which again is our estimate of the money we're actually bringing in. So $33,600 minus $15,000 is going to give us $18,600. So you could see here at first, maybe it didn't seem at first to be as much of a difference between these two. Of okay, yeah, maybe another $10,000, and it's actually less than $10,000 here, but would you rather be making $11,000 or $18,000 a year extra? And that's, again, already factoring in property management expenses and things like that. So that's why doing this math will help show you things that you maybe didn't even understand or see, or that weren't as obvious. Because you might find out, let's say with this vacation rental over here. Now, renting these on a nightly basis, you're potentially trying to market this 365 times a year, so significantly more marketing. And the reason why these platforms like Airbnb and Vrbo and so on and so forth have grown so rapidly is because there is a cost to running these platforms. There's a cost to turning over the property, to cleaning it, and so on and so forth. And again, depending on your involvement, that cost increases as you become less involved and it becomes more passive. So let's say that the operating expenses on this one, let's say they come out to be about $50,000 a year. And you might say, wow, are they really going to be $50,000 a year? I don't know. These are made up numbers. Do the math. Do the research. Do the research and do the math. You're doing the math now, so when you do the research and get the real numbers, you could do this math here. Because what this will show you here, so if we take $87,600 and we subtract out these $57,000, we get down to $37,600. And again, it doesn't sound as attractive as $87,000, and this may be scary, $50,000 in operating expenses. But that's why. I mean, that is basically double that monthly rental number. But then the questions are, is that even allowed? Because local ordinances a lot of times require some sort of minimum rental. And so if it is, that's a good indicator because you've got that likelihood for this. But then also, is it something that your client is equipped to take on this higher level investment? Because if somebody is an annual property investor and they're like used to painting bathtubs to turn over a property, that's not gonna, things are gonna be done a little bit differently on a short-term rental, because if you're going somewhere on a vacation, you'd probably pick the hotel over the slumlord house with the painted bathtub. So there's definitely a much higher cost, not even in just the quality of the property and the finishes, but also in the management and the turnover, and again, providing a more concierge type of experience. But if you could do that, again, and you might be able to get much higher numbers than this. There's like these crazy properties you'll see that sometimes could get thousands of dollars a night for rent and still rent out pretty consistently. Maybe this is something somebody's considering to do with the home it is that they're living in. Maybe there's a mother-in-law suite in the back. Or there's some, right in St. Petersburg, they just passed a new ordinance or bill or something like that that increases the ability to add accessory dwelling units. Now, there may be local ordinances that stop you in some of these cases here, but there's a lot of opportunities still out there if you could put yourself in the right environment to find them. And one of the things I highly recommend, if you are at all involved in real estate, if you own real estate, if you plan on owning real estate, if you know people that own real estate, you should have a real estate license. And the reason why is because you could put this knowledge to use for others. And even if it's just very surface level knowledge and you refer them to somebody who is a more skilled professional, that's also worth something if you have a real estate license. But you need to have an active real estate license to even earn a referral fee, let alone actually helping others buy and sell real estate. But this job is not as difficult as it may seem. The exam to pass is not as difficult as it may seem. As a matter of fact, if you're struggling with the exam, don't let that get in the way. Call us up. We've got the best exam prep tools in the state of Florida, 813-333-2676. And if you want to learn more about running a real estate business, how you actually make money to actually practice real estate, that's where you need to get our post-licensing course. The post-licensing course is a requirement that you have to have at least 45 hours of post-licensing hours by your first renewal deadline, and our post-licensing course will meet that requirement as well as teach you valuable information to help you grow your real estate business. And when you're ready to become a broker, we have the courses live stream, in person, as well as self-guided online to get your Florida real estate broker license so you could open up your own brokerage office. There's a lot of opportunities with real estate. You could just get the license and earn referral fees. Just keep your license current and active. You don't have to become a realtor. You don't have to join the MLS and all those other expenses if you just want to earn referrals. If you want to find out any more information about any of these opportunities, about vacation rental opportunities, about working with new constructions, check out our Success Center at tampaschool.com. That's Tampa School, Tampa school.com. And yes, we are worldwide. We've had students from over 37 countries, so don't let the name Tampa intimidate you. We have students throughout the entire state, and again, 37 countries worldwide. Okay, I'll stop dropping that one. I'm real proud of that 37 number there. That's something we saw when we really actually looked at the report, because we knew we'd had international students before, but just the diversity of people from all over the world that have came through our programs, it's something that's really rewarding to us because, you know, especially with our name, Tampa School of Real Estate, this is right where we started from. And, you know, we wanted to serve our local community, but turns out we were really good at this, so we started helping people from all over get their Florida real estate license. And now you could tune into a live online class with a live instructor right in front of you to answer your questions from the chat. Or you could go into a self-guided video-based program. Or you could come in person to us if you want to come on down to the Tampa Bay area. We have multiple locations in the surrounding Tampa Bay area as well. Any questions you have about this, though, again, 813-333-2676. I want to thank everybody for tuning in today. And if you guys like this episode on vacation rentals, on short-term rentals, maybe you want to find out more about investment opportunities in real estate. There's a lot of investment opportunities in real estate that will be making themselves available in the future. It's just a question of how far that future is. So this is definitely a great time to get your real estate license. It's a great time to start learning this industry. It's a great time to get into real estate, especially for the long term. Especially recently, over the last couple of years, there's a lot of people getting into real estate to make some real quick money. And look, the reality is you could always make quick money in real estate. The money is quick, but you have to put yourself in the position to be able to get the quick money. And it takes some time. It takes some work. It takes taking a course and passing an exam. But we're here to help you through that every step of the way. That's how we've been able to get as big as it is that we are. It's not through advertising. Yeah, the advertising, it helps, you know, more people know who we are. But what really sells people on us is the experiences of our past students. Whether it is they ended up on TV or they're just one of our Google reviews, because we have quite a few of those as well. So if there's any way we could help you, again, call us, text us, 813-333-2676. Check out the website, tampaschool.com. That's about all the time we've got for today. I want to thank you for tuning in, and we'll be back on Friday for State of Real Estate, your weekly mastermind to grow your business. Thank you all for tuning in, and I'll see you on Friday. Have you completed your post-licensing education yet? Look, I know you're probably thinking, hey, it's not my renewal deadline. I don't need to do post-licensing yet. But look, here's why you want to do post-licensing as soon as you've got your real estate license, as soon as you're able to take post-licensing. It's not just another course about arbitrary laws that you're never going to use again. It's about real-world, usable topics that'll help you grow your real estate business, to help you take it to the next level. Look, let me ask you this one question. If this course helps you close just one deal, if you get one extra deal from post-licensing, is it worth the investment? I'd say it is. We get paid pretty well, so one deal means a lot of money. Check out postflorida.com. That's postflorida.com for the full details about post-licensing. Are you studying for your Florida real estate exam? If you are, you need to check out our Pass First Try strategy. You're going to love this. It's 4 steps that we break down the process to study for your Florida real estate exam. So you're set up to pass your Florida real estate exam because that's what you're studying for, right? To pass your exam. It's 4 steps. Number 1, you learn the information. You've got to learn this to be able to pass the exam, but it doesn't stop at learning. Step 2, you've got to reinforce the basic, simple, key concepts. As you learn this information, keep reviewing the simple things. You don't need to know everything, but you got to review these basic key concepts. Step 3, you've got to test your knowledge. The exam's going to test your knowledge, so if you don't test your knowledge in advance, you won't find out if you know what you think you know until you take the exam. And then step 4 is be confident and prepared, because even if you know this material, you need to be confident that you know the material. Check out the full strategy at passfirsttry.com. That's passfirsttry.com. Wanted to get your real estate license but have been struggling to find an instructor-led course that fits your schedule? I'm proud to introduce to you our on-demand instructor-led pre-licensing course. Now you do not have to make a course schedule fit around your schedule to take an instructor-led course. This course is designed to be 100% video-based instruction. And this video-based instruction, even though this is pre-recorded video, still gives you the opportunity to engage and interact with the information to ensure your understanding of important key concepts so you're prepared for your end of course exam and state exam. My name is John Charismo, and I'll be your instructor in this course. And I've been with the Tampa School of Real Estate for several years now and have helped personally thousands of people going through the licensing process. I'm excited to be your instructor throughout this course. Now, as you're going through the course, if you need help, we're just a click away. In the corner, you'll see a little yellow chat bubble where you can message our student support team, where you'll be able to get in touch with our team of licensed support professionals that have sales associate licenses, broker licenses, and instructor licenses as well. So you don't have just one instructor, you have a whole team of people from the Tampa School of Real Estate to help keep you on track, to help keep you in the important information, and to help keep you moving closer towards building your real estate career, getting it off the ground, and being able to go out there to join a broker, to activate your license, and start earning commissions. All of that is possible and so much more. But to get started, you need to enroll. So enroll today. Take advantage of the special offer we have on this on-demand pre-licensing course. You'll have instant access as soon as you enroll. You'll get an email with information to log into your course online, so you get logged in and start completing your course today. You don't have to wait until the class starts. The class is already there waiting for you. So take action today and let's start building your real estate empire. Hey, so if you're thinking about starting a real estate career, it could feel a little overwhelming sometimes. Look, that's completely understandable. That's why we're here to help. If you haven't already, check out our Success Center, tampaschool.com/success, or if you don't even know where to begin, give us a call. We'd love to help you out. We've got advisors standing by to answer any questions you have and assist you in any way it is that we can. Our phone number is 813-928-0106. Again, that's 813-928-0106. Give us a call. We're the Tampa School of Real Estate.
Do you want a career that allows you to be in control? With a career in real estate, you'll get to call the shots. Whether you're looking at starting part-time or want to become the next top agent, a career in real estate makes it possible. Find out what it takes at tampaschool.com. Do you want to incorporate studying for your real estate exams into your busy schedule? Now you can review the key topics you need to know to pass your class and state exams with our MP3 audio review. Simply pop in your headphones or connect to your car to reinforce crucial information while you exercise or drive. Listen to the first unit for free at mp3audioreview.com. That's mp3audioreview.com.
Are you thinking about a career in real estate? Hey, I'm John Charismo with the Tampa School of Real Estate, and we've helped thousands of people just like you obtain their real estate license. If you're thinking about a career in real estate, give us a call. The phone number is 813-928-0106. Our advisors are standing by to answer any questions you have and assist you in any way they can. Hey, if you're enjoying the show today, which I'm sure you are, be sure to hit like, subscribe, post your comments, share with your friends and family. Thank you guys so much for watching.